Hey everyone, so this is a video I've been waiting to make for so long. So CRIT is up for the rework heading into Season 9, right? We don't know exactly when the changes are going to hit, probably about 9.2 onwards, something like that. But we do know what Riot is testing now. They finally revealed it, and we have two different versions. Let me know what you think in the comments, but I really like these, honestly, especially the new Phantom Dancer rework. It's kind of turning it into like a ranged version of Sterix, something like that we're going to talk about halfway through the video. So in terms of CRIT items, we have two options, right? Number one, they're going to revert Infinity Edge back to what it used to be. So it'll be 3,400 gold, it'll be 70 AD, 40% crit, and it would increase crit damage. The current version that we have at the moment is the same gold, the same AD, but it doubles your crit chance, and you have 10% of your crit damage as true damage. So this is actually what we had before, right? Before all of this mess, and Infinity Edge was really strong as soon as you finish that one item. It was just instant power. It was really good. You get some crit chance, you get some AD, and all of that increases your crit damage. This would be the most simple way of changing things back to how they used to be, for sure, but we'd also probably see zero reason to buy a Stormrazor anymore because we could just get this. That is probably why Stormrazor is also up for a rework, which we're going to get into later into the video. With the current items, the Zeal items, it would actually fit perfectly. So Zeal upgrades like Rapid Fire Cannon give 30% crit at the moment. You'd have a 70% with Infinity Edge and Rapid Fire Cannon, and then exactly 100 with a Shiv on top of that. Basically, we could go back to the days of getting triple crit builds with the lightning and the range and everything, and as you can see, we don't know how much they would increase the crit damage by. It might not be the same as it was before. It probably wouldn't actually be as much as before because it was an issue, right? But still, this would go back to the old days a little bit more and how we used to build and play. Option number two is a Mega Infinity Edge and some Zeal changes. Now, I'm not kidding. Mega Infinity Edge, 2 BF swords and a Zeal. That would cost 5,000 gold, have 80 AD, 30% attack speed, 5% move speed, 50% crit chance, and increased crit damage. That looks like an amazing item, but 5,000 gold is a ton. Right now, Stormrazor and Rapid Fire Cannon, so two items would cost us 5,600 gold. So not much more really for having two complete. With this Infinity Edge, though, we do get more AD, we also get attack speed, and we get 50% crit chance. This is still an amazing item, and it will be such a good rush when you finish it. You'll be able to get your double BF swords, right? So you still have a ton of AD to make all your abilities hurt in the lane phase. You'll have your Zeal for some attack speed, and then you have a huge power spike when you upgrade all of them into IE. It also has the increase on the crit damage, so your crits are actually going to hurt, which is really important. Think about it as well. This also makes a full item build for us more powerful, since we can have this mega item only taking up one slot in our inventory, and we can stack more damage in the other 5. Now, the way we have our current Zeal items wouldn't really work, so that is why they're going to be changed as well. So Rapid Fire Cannon would now have 30% attack speed, 25% crit, 10% move speed, and the Energize would change as well. 80 bonus damage, and then you'd have the range and Energize 25% faster. Currently, it's the same attack speed. It'd be less crit, but it'd be more move speed, and the damage would be a little bit lower on the Rapid Fire proc. The big thing is it's 25% crit, which means that you'd have to get Infinity Edge, Rapid Fire Cannon, and Shiv like normal to get to 100% crit again, which is fine, but it's also a very expensive option because Infinity Edge costs way more. You'll be up to 75% though with just one Zeal item, which is really good, and then you could go into defense, you could go lifesteal, arm, pen, whatever you wanted after just 2 items. The other thing is the energizing is a bit different, so it's just straight up damage now, the 80 damage. Rapid Fire Cannon is a bit more utility with the faster energize and double the normal move speed. If we have a look at the other option, the Shiv, right? 50% attack speed, 25% crit, 5% move speed, and the Energize, again, is 80 bonus damage, but it can chain up to 5 targets, and it can crit. Compared to the current version, it's going to be 15% more attack speed. It'll be less crit, but same move speed, and the damage will be a little bit lower. This is kind of like a raw damage option, right? The lightning can still crit, which is really good, but it gives us a whopping 20% more attack speed than Rapid Fire, and even more than what we have on Phantom Dancer right now in the game. Shiv is going to have a place in builds now because it's wave clear, it's burst, but it's a higher damage option with more attack speed. So that would be the second option for our crit changes. We have a Mega Infinity Edge that we build towards, and these slightly weaker or different versions of Zeal to put on top of it. The only thing with this is that until you can save up 5,000 gold, you don't have a complete item at all. You're just sitting on like some AD and some attack speed. That would make AD carries much weaker early game, but then stronger when they finally complete it, which I guess is kind of the idea. Also, for a glass cannon build, you can get 100% crit, right? Which is 110% attack speed, 80 AD, 20% move speed, 80 bonus energized damage, the range, the chain lightning by buying all 3 of them. If we compare that to how it is on live servers at the moment, that is only 65% attack attack speed, 70 AD, 10% move speed, and then 60 to 140 damage, range, and lightning. Obviously, it does cost 1600 more gold, right? But you do get a lot more stats. And imagine a 6-item Caitlyn with those 3 items plus Lifesteal and Guardian Angel. That is bonkers. Let me know what you prefer and what you think about the changes. Honestly, I'm thinking number 2 looks really good, but I know that number 1 would definitely be more likely and the safe option, since we kind of know that it will add power back into AD carries and crit builds already because it was already in the game. Now, honestly, some of the coolest things are actually with defensive options for us that still are going to be building damage, and especially the reworked Phantom Dancer like I mentioned earlier. Now, before we get into that, we actually do have to look at the new Hex Drinker, and by the way, all of the items we're now going to mention could fit into the game regardless of what happens to Infinity Edge, either with option 1 or option 2. So Hex Drinker is going to build out of a longsword and a stopwatch. Now, you're still going to have the AD, you're going to have the magic shield for 5 seconds, but you're not going to have any magic resist. The main thing here is that it now builds out of that stopwatch, and it doesn't give any magic resist, so it's a much more open item. It is still a magic shield, but the stopwatch is way more useful as a component part anyway to pick up during the game, and you're much more likely to actually get it and use it. The reason they've done that though is because that now builds into a Phantom Dancer, so it's going to be a Zeal plus a Hex Drinker into PD. It's going to be 2,800 gold. It's going to give 20 AD, 30% attack speed, 30% crit, and 5% move speed. Now the passive is going to be different though, so taking damage to go below 30% health, so like the shield and stuff, is going to give you a 280 health shield and 40% move speed for 5 seconds. So compared to the current version, this new one is less attack speed, there is no move speed near enemy champions, and no 12% damage reduction, so you lose both of those passives. With this though, we can now actually have a crit build with defense at the same time. We can build both. That is so good. It is amazing. Now you get the 30% attack speed, same as rapid fire, right? 30% crit, same as rapid fire. 5% move speed, same as rapid fire. But instead of getting the range, the energized damage, and making them charge a bit faster, you get some defense. You do get some AD as well, but you have this 280 shield, right? And move speed to run away afterwards or kite people around. Notice as well, this is a straight up shield, right? It's not for magic damage anymore. It's for everything. It's like a Sterix, but a ranged version. We do lose our other passives, which kind of sucks, but if somebody tries to burst us, then we have this to keep us alive, to give a burst of move speed to reposition, and then turn around and kill them because it's still a damage item with more crit chance. Basically, you know how you can kind of like build a more malmortius versus a LeBlanc and actually stand a chance because it gives you some more damage while keeping you alive, and it actually does keep you alive. This is the same thing, but for like a Talon or something, anything AD, or if they have AD and AP champions, you can get this. For example, you could get the new Infinity Edge into rapid fire to do more damage, and then PD to have 100% crit and some defense in the shield, so it's not full glass cannon anymore, but it's still 100% crit. This is probably the best thing in the entire video. It will help AD carries so much because it will be easier to play and harder to actually burst an AD from 100 to 0. It's finally a way to stay alive while still standing a chance to carry and kill stuff with more damage. There are a couple of other things as well. So like more malmortius is now going to build out of a Hex Drinker, a Warhammer, and a Negatron cloak. It's 10 more AD, but 10 less magic resist. The main thing here is the build path, just because Hex Drinker itself doesn't have any magic resist on it anymore. And the cool thing though is that you have this choice, right? Build your Hex Drinker and then go into more versus AP or PD versus AD. Let's talk about the Stormrazor rework. So we have two options. Number one is an energized version, same as like rapid fire, shiv, and stuff like that. So it's going to have the same stats, but energized attack still 80 damage on there, and damage is increased by 30% of your AD. So basically it's a bit more interesting, and it scales really well because it is 30% of your AD, which obviously increases throughout the entire game. It's not tied into crit at all anymore. It can fit into assassin builds a lot more. It can fit into a misfortune build, lethality, or Lucian, or Jin, and it will still power up even if you don't go crit afterward. Imagine especially a Jin with his passive using 30% of that to boost the energized attack on this. It seems pretty insane. It's still got a good mix of attack speed and AD, so it works with crit builds, it works with most builds, to be honest. It just gives you more burst, but it's actually a lot like rapid fire cannon. It charges up during combat and then does a ton more damage. It's actually a really good idea. It's not just a big crit to start the fight, right? It's a big burst of damage consistently throughout the fight every single time you get to 100 stacks. The second version of Stormrazor is a multi-stacking version. It's the same stats. You gain a charge though of Storm's Edge every 10 seconds, up to 3 charges. Storm's Edge is your next attack against a champion, deals 30 to 80 damage and 40% move speed for 0.5 seconds. So it's going to be less damage, obviously, right? 30 to 80 instead of being a guaranteed crit or increased by your AD, but it does hold up to 3 charges. So if you save all of them up and then jump into a fight, you do a lot more damage to start with. It's kind of a cool idea, but I don't think this is as cool as the other option or even what we have now, to be honest. It could be better earlier, maybe, even though the damage number starting at 30 seems a little bit on the low side, actually. Hopefully they increase that if they do put it into the game. If a Draven saved up all 3, for example, hit you with 3 axes and this bonus damage, you'd probably die, to be honest. So that's probably where it comes in. Essence Reaver has also got his passive a little bit tweaked, so it has the same stats, and they've changed the way to trigger Essence Flare. If you deal 30% of a champion's health within 2.5 seconds, you'll trigger this for 6 seconds with a 60-second cooldown, and the old version was a 30-second cooldown. Essence Flare is exactly the same as it was before, by the way, the bonus attack speed and then reducing your cooldown. This is a much better way of doing it, though, to be fair. I don't think it really solves like the massive issues with it, but it does stop it being tied to your ultimate, which I think is much more useful. If you think about it, for a few champions in particular, maybe Zyre or Lucian or something like that, who would actually want to use this anyway, they can burst to start a fight, trigger this, get more attack speed, and then reduce their ability cooldowns without using their ult. It actually sounds like a really good idea for something like a Lucian, so it is a better version, but it's basically the same, just triggering it in a much better way. And finally then we have a Last Whisper buff, double the AD and double the arm penetration on the basic version that is for 1300 gold. This is basically getting buffed, probably because with the Infinity Edge changes not being true damage anymore, crits will suffer more against armor again and need a boost, and we will need some arm pen. So those are the crit changes. What do you guys think? What's your favorite out of the entire video? I really hope no matter what they do, they introduce the Phantom Dancer change into the game, because that is amazing. A shield defensive item to protect versus burst that is also going to help our crit build do more damage. It's like perfect. But anyway, thank you for watching the video. Leave a like if you're excited for the new changes, and for now I will leave you with the robots.